Okay, so for the last hour, we're going to do Flex MLS Pro for Android. Now, the reason I teach these classes separate is because the apps have kind of evolved to where the functionality is a bit different, and like even like the menu, one's on the top, one's on the bottom. When people are trying to follow along, it can be really confusing. So I just like to teach them separately just so people don't get confused. So let me load it up. Now, m.flexmls.com is the exact same thing as the Android app. So m.flexmls.com is the Android, it's the Android, same thing. So it's Android versus mobile site. So I'm going to launch that. And I'm actually going to minimize this, make this more look like a mobile device. And okay, so make this look more like a mobile device. And then we are going to take a look. So if you want to pull up your Android app, you will see the same thing. Now you'll notice the menu is up at the top, whereas the Apple one is down at the bottom. So some of the functionality like drawing shapes are different and things can be called things differently. So really when it comes to teaching this, teaching it separately makes a lot more sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the search page, and we covered this last hour, the quick launch. There are, on the desktop site, 6 things you can do in the quick launch, whereas in the app, you can do 5 things. So number 1 is an MLS number, if you want to write these down. Number 2 is an address. Number 2 is an address. Number 3 is a radius. Number 3 is radius. Number 4 is a name. Number 4 is name. Now, it's not going to be a name of like, say, a CMA. You can't pull up all the same functionality on the desktop site, but you could pull up a contact or pull up another member of the board. And then number 5 is a search. And we're going to do all 5 of those right here. Number 6 menu item does not work in the apps, so we're not going to do that one. So if I want to use up any of these 5, I'm going to tap inside the quick launch. And I'm going to type in a MLS number, 324452. 324452. And then right here, it says right up the top listings. I'm going to tap on that. Give it a second. And now it's pulled up that listing. So what we're going to do is we're really going to focus on this hour is doing the things that you would do at your desktop or, on your office. But what can you do on the road when you're with your clients or when you're with someone else? So let's say your client gives you an MLS number, something they haven't talked about before. They found it on another site and they say, hey, can we take a look at this one? Or they give you an address, which we'll do next. You want to pull it up and take a look at it. Okay, so here are the photos. You can go to the photos, or you could watch a video or virtual tour. And so that launches a YouTube video. Otherwise, you just go through the photos. Description, this is the public remarks. Listing members, so you see the other agents' information. Whereas if they were on the portal, they're playing around with the portal that you set up for them, they don't see the private information. A listing member would be considered private information, so they don't see that. And then all the rest of the information here, all the details tabs, all the fields that were entered in for the listing. And you could always share or recommend this to your client or even pull up showing info. So I'm going to tap on showing info. If there's any showing info, so it just shows this information, the listing member stuff. So that's how you pull up an MLS number. And I'm just going to go back. And we'll just do listing search. Okay, so number 1 was an MLS number. I'm going to tap inside the quick launch bar again. And this time I'm going to type in an address. 5008 Raham. So 5008, and I see that it's been listed twice. Now, for number 2 in address, it has to be actually in the system. If I were to type in 5009 Braham, I don't find anything because there's never been a listing at 5009. Type in 5008, I can pull this up. So like the previous example, let's say you're with your client, you pick them up to look at some open houses. They say, oh, I saw this property. Could we take a look at it? Well, you don't have to go back to your office and print off a listing report. You can just pull it up on your phone, give it a second to load, and then you can see the property right here. And so you can look at the photos, see information, and you see that other listing members' information. So what you could do is, let's say you're looking at 3 or 4 properties, while you're at a house and the client, says, okay, I'm gonna go check up the upstairs. Why don't you give Bill a call and say, hey, Bill, my client, we've scheduled 4 open houses. They mentioned your house that you have listed. Can we take a look? And he's like, oh yeah. And then you schedule the showing and you take a look at it right there. You don't have to go back to your office to do that. So that is a really cool option. And if you keep scrolling down, you get things like price history. See all the time it's been listed. And then you could even pull up an RPR search for it if you would like. If you have the RPR app on your phone. So that is the address. Now, the third one we're going to do is the radius. Number 3 is radius. And if you remember yesterday, we were doing radius searches around an MLS number, but we couldn't do it around the address because there was a bug. Well, that bug has been fixed, thankfully. So we'll try a couple different radiuses. So one thing you could do is 1 mile from, 2 miles from, 3 miles from, and put in an MLS number. So I'm going to put in an MLS number, 286-330. And what's great about this is you can do a radius around an MLS number. Let's say you're looking at a property and you looked at 3 or 4 and your client really likes the neighborhood, but they're just not happy what you're showing them. So maybe they want you to do a search. Well, why don't we see what's nearby? Maybe it's a couple other properties that are listed we just haven't looked at. And so you do a radius search around an MLS number, and there's actually 19 properties that should be active or active contingent around this MLS number. And you could always go to filter if you want to narrow it down some more. We'll do that in a little bit. If you want to go like bedrooms, bathrooms, price, and you see these individual properties. And what's cool about this is if you pull up a property in the app, give it a second to load, you actually do have an option for, well, if I go to map, driving directions. So if you want to get driving directions to that property from your current location, that will, it'll launch your mapping software on your computer, and then you can get driving directions to that individual property. So that was 1 mile radius around an MLS number. Now pay close attention to what I'm going to do next. Now remember, with number 2 address, it has to be in the MLS for us to find it. But if it hasn't been in the MLS, that doesn't matter. As long as you have an address that Google can recognize, it's going to work. So I'm going to type in 1 mile from 5008 Braham Drive. We're going to do a search. This will be a 1 mile radius. Okay, again, doesn't matter if it hasn't been in the MLS. If Google can recognize the address. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're out in the middle of nowhere and you want to do a search, or maybe you met with a client at their house. This is where they live, 500 Braham Drive. And they tell you, okay, hey, we want to live in the same neighborhood. Let's see what's nearby. Do a search, but they haven't listed their property yet. They want to sell it, but they're looking to upgrade to another bedroom because they have a baby on the way. And so they want to stay in that exact same neighborhood. So you're meeting them at their house. We'll get 21 properties, active and active contingent, that are a mile around that address, the 5008 Braham Drive. Doesn't have to be in the MLS. This gets sent to Google. It finds it, and then obviously could filter to go down to your bedrooms, your bathrooms. So this is the default. Like there's the location, the things that are filled out. You could always put in a price, Number of bedrooms, maybe we'll put in 4, or we'll do 5. Yeah, there's no for 5, so we'll do 4. View the listings, and you want to take a look at these properties, pull up the information, get driving directions, that kind of thing. So radius allows you to do it around an MLS number, allows you to do it around an address, doesn't have to be in the MLS. And then the third one you can do for a radius is a landmark. And landmark, I mean something like a school. So I'm going to do 1 mile from, and we're actually going to do DeSoto County Courthouse. Now, pay close attention to this explanation. There's probably only one DeSoto County Courthouse, which is fine. But if I were to type in Starbucks, it would have no idea what I'm asking it because there's Starbucks everywhere. If you were to type in Starbucks Hernando, if there's only one Starbucks, it'll find it. If there's multiple, it's not going to know what you're asking for. So something like an elementary school, Pleasant Hill Elementary, you'd probably want to do Pleasant Hill Elementary, and assuming it was in Hernando, type in Hernando MS. So, but no commas, but just tell Google the city and the state so it can verify exactly where it is. But again, there should only be one DeSoto County Courthouse. I typed it in, click on it, or maybe we'll do this time, we'll do 2 miles from or 3 miles from. We're going to put a location. Now, why would we use a landmark? Well, let's say our client got a job at the courthouse as a new prosecutor, or they took the principal job at the elementary school. They want to buy a house that is nearby that location. Now, you could do this on your desktop site when you're at your office or home, or if you're running into them and you want to do a search for them right away. Once you become tech savvy, that person you meet at Walmart or at the Starbucks, they see your realtor name badge, you can knock out a search in a couple minutes, set them up with something, and they're going to be really impressed that you're doing it right there from your phone. So we did 2 mile radius. And we go to filter. Now we have a fixed location, which would be the county courthouse. And then we're going to put in those other parameters like bedrooms, bathrooms, that kind of thing. Okay, so check your notes. Number 1 was an MLS number. Number 2 was an address. Number 3 was a radius. Now, number 4 is a name. This could be a name of a client. So if I were to type in Luke, I can pull up my contact. But also I see, or you could type in the name of a person. So let's see, are there any Julies in the MLS? There's different Julies. So, but I'm not finding the Julie I want, so maybe I want to use a last name instead. So I'm gonna type in a last name. So Julie Medley, I pull her up. And I see her information, and I can actually, here's her mobile, so I could text her from my app right from the app, and so that'd be a really cool thing to do. Okay, number 4 was name. Now, number 5 is search. I'm not really going to spend much time on the search here in the quick launch because we're going to actually be doing a new search. But if you want to know more about the syntax in the quick launch, that was the first hour of class yesterday. Those classes have been recorded. I'm not sure when they're going to be available, but hopefully soon. I'm going to take an active 100, or we'll do 150 to 200K. 3 to 4 bed, 2 bath, 1,500 to 1,800 square feet. And I could put in city of Olive Branch or sub of Cherry Hill, whatever I want. I'm not going to do a location here. I'm just going to start the search. And then I'm going to draw on the map. So give it a second to load. And if I go to the map right here, this is why I like to teach classes separately, because on the Apple, you have like 3 icons right here. Well, on Android, it's completely different functionality. So we're going to tap on map. And also, how you draw shapes are quite different. So I'm going to zoom in. And so on Apple, there's a stick in the mud here, where Android, it's this right here. And you don't trace with your finger, you actually tap. And every time you tap, it gives you a point. And then you finish your shape. So now I've done some search parameters with the filter, but then I've drawn a shape for my results. Click on X. And I now have 6 listings. So I have kind of looks what looks like the gallery view on the Apple, but here's the photo of the property. Here's all the information. Now, if I want to pull up any of these listings, just tap on the photo. I tap on the photo, I see the photo information, the description, all the rest of the information from the property. So I could always share an individual listing for my client. Tip on share, select my contact, and we'll just keep on using Luke Skywalker. And then I could email it, or there's more options. I'll send the email, and it has now sent him an email. But what I did is I just did a search, and if I ever want to share the search, I can do the share right here. Now we'll do this in a second. We're gonna do a search from the actual new search option and then share it. But I just want to point you out, that's where that share button is, and there are 3 dots if you want to select or save any listings. What I mean by select is if you select, we have the 6, this number badge is now, I can actually select some listings, and if I want to use them in the future, which I will do so. So we're going to select these 3 listings and save them to a collection later on in class. But okay, so the 5 things, check your notes that you can do in the quick launch bar, which is the same functionality in the desktop site. It says share was successful. 1 was an MLS number. Number 2 was an address. Number 3, radius. Number 4, name. So like a name of a contact or someone in the board. Number 5 was search. Now, what you're probably do though is just start a new search by tapping on this right here. And when you tap on the new search, it shows all of the active listings. And watch this, my res search, I can change to other property types. If I want to do land instead and watch the viewing, it's going to change. But we're just going to stick with residential now. The 0.5 MyRes search, this is what I created yesterday in one of our classes. So if you're curious about how you create your own search templates, watch the class from yesterday. So we can go back to residential. And you'll notice, so it's broken down. On the Apple, you have 3 icons here, where here you have a filter is broken down from the map. So we're going to filter first, which is our search parameters, and then we're going to do the map. So I'm going to tap on filter, and I can do a location if I want, but I'm going to use the map instead. So let's put in, we'll do a price range of, say, 250 to 300,000. If I just click inside that, it'll update it. And then we're going to do beds. We'll do 3 to 5 beds. We'll do 2 baths. Square footage, we'll do, let's see if we can get above 2,000. Year built, and we want something that's been built since 2010. Okay, we're down to 64 listings. So I could continue to add search parameters, or I could add it filter, which is another search parameter. Add filter, and I see all the fields. If I know what I'm looking for, I could type it in for something like, say, subdivision, or maybe I want to add cooling, and I want to have a central air. So I've now watched, I check the box, 64 is now going to drop down to 61. Okay, so I have all these search parameters in central air, but I haven't done location yet. I could do location here and click inside this and do it, or tap inside this. Or what I can do is view the listings and just switch to the map option right here. So I'm going to switch to the map. Now it's going to bring me to the map, and give it a second to load. I'm going to zoom in. I would use my fingers to pinch out or pinch in. And we're going to draw a shape right over here. So I'm going to tap on the shape. And every time I click, it gives me a point. Finish the shape. Now I have a shape. And we're down to less listings. So I click on the X, it'll actually tell me we're down to 33. So I could, like we did before, tap on any of these individual properties and take a look. And I realized, okay, I'm going to go back to filter. And I just did 250 to 300,000. Why don't we narrow this down a little bit? We're going to go to 275. When you tap outside that, and we're gonna go down to 21. Okay, so I'm happy with my search now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this search for my client. It's not called save in the desktop or in the mobile apps. It's called share. Where on the desktop side, it's called save. So I'm gonna tap on share, and we're just gonna keep using Luke. So I'm gonna do Luke Skywalker, 250 to 275, and we'll say Pleasant Hill. I know it's close to Pleasant Hill. And I'm gonna save and share. So when I save and share, give it a second to load. Now, first thing I notice is it says subscribe to updates. Subscribe to updates. That is the subscription. So the tiers of support you do with your client. Tier 1 is the manual email, which for the purposes of the app is basically you're sharing an individual listing. You are doing all the work. Tier 2 is the save, search, and subscription, or in the app, it's called share search and subscribe to updates, the same thing. What it does is you're telling the Flex MLS, okay, save this search for my client and send new listings, price changes, status changes to my client. New listings go out in about 10 minutes. Price changes and status changes about 2 to 5 minutes. You're having the system do the work. Whereas the portal, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the portal is that tier 3. That's the, they're doing all the work. You set them up at the portal. They get to do their own searching, tell you what they like, what they don't like. Ideally, you have all your clients using the portal. Most people do the portal and the search and subscription, so personal preference, but we will talk about that again in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my contact right here. Find my contacts, and we're going to use Luke Skywalker again. And if I want to put in a message, the listings we talked about, or here's a search for you. We see down at the bottom there's an option to email. Now on Apple you can email or text, where Android you're just having the option to email. So I'm going to click on email. And it's now emailed my client those listings, and then they can, has the subscription. So for you to really understand how this stuff works on the app, I highly recommend you add a friend or family member as a contact, email them some listings, share the listings, so you get a better idea of how that works on Android. I find it's a little more intuitive on Apple, so Android you want to play around with it a bit with your friends or family members. Okay, so that is how we saved a search or shared a search through Android. Now the next thing we're going to look at is the flame. This is not Tinder, this is the hot sheet. So I'm going to tap on the flame. And we see new listings, price changes, all of these different sections. If I want to tap on, say, new listings, I'm going to tap on it. And we see 15 new listings. If I want to pull up any of these listings, or maybe we notice, okay, 289. Maybe I know that I have a search with Luke Skywalker that's between 250 and 280. Well, 289 is not going to show up in his search because he's, again, looking from 250 to 280. But you happen to know, oh, an olive branch on Chapel Ridge, that is an incredibly low price. Most of those houses on that street or that area are going for, 310. You want to recommend an individual listing to your client. That's easy. Just go to the 3 dots, go to recommend. I'm going to tap on Luke Skywalker, and I've now recommended that listing. So in his portal, when he walks in, there's actually going to be a recommended section. And in his newsfeed, he will see recommended listings. So you tell him, hey, once a month or once a week, I'm going to recommend listings. They're not quite exactly what you're looking for, but I want you to take a look at it. Now, you'll notice if you were in the last class for Apple, there are some different options where here you can add to a personal collection or contact collection, whereas on Apple, it just says add to collection. Again, I teach the classes separately because the apps are diverging, and if people are following along, which when I teach hands-on on site, they do, you can't teach an Apple class and have an Android person be able to do the exact same things. We can also, click on the 3 dots, do those things. So if we tap on the on an individual listing. Again, you can go to the map to do driving directions. You can always select a listing. I'm actually going to select this one and keep our running tally of listings. But all the information about the property. This is the Flex MLS Pro app. So again, private information. If your client's looking at over your shoulder, they're going to see all the information. But like property history is kind of a cool thing that's been added the last year or so. Every time this has been listed, you're going to see that property information right here. So you don't have to go back to your desktop site. You go back to your office, get all the property history. Okay, we're going to go back. Okay, so now we're up to 3 selected listings, which we will do something with them in a little bit. So go back to hot sheets. New price change. If I want to filter this down, I want to narrow down this so there's an area I want to look at, I'm going to tap on filter. And then I can tap on the enter location option, and I can put in something like Brayburn for subdivision, or we can do Cherry Tree Park. Actually, do Cherry Tree Park, and we're going to do Cherry Hill, and we'll do a couple of them. So let's say I work a lot of these locations, and I want to see anything that's new in the last, we'll say the last week. And I'm going to click on View Events. Okay, so we have 2 new properties. Tap on it. I can now select it. I could get driving directions, or maybe I want to share this with a client. So I'm going to tap on this one. And this is a new property that just came up and it's already pending. Maybe I want to share this with Luke and let him know, hey, this area, these properties are going pending immediately within a couple of days. So I'm going to select the contact. I'm going to individually share this listing for Luke, and I will email it to him. So we've emailed that individual listing. We've shared that listing. So the terminology is just a little bit different. So that's how you use the hot sheet. Now, contacts. We're going to go to contacts. And so we see our list of contacts. Now, yesterday, my last hour was just on contact management. And then the hour before that, we talked about the portal, which has a lot to do with contacts. So we focused a lot about how to make it easier for your clients to use the system, and also how it'll make your job easier. So one thing we were talking about is getting people on the portal. Well, the example I used yesterday is, okay, you meet someone at Walmart, you got your realtor name badge on, and they walk up to you and they say, hey, oh, we're in town. Maybe they're on vacation or they're visiting their grandkids. Like, we want to buy a property here. We see you're a realtor. Can you help us out? Now, either like maybe you're short on time or they're short on time, or you just, you want to get them into your contacts right away, set them up with a portal. You only need a couple minutes to do this. Setting them up with the portal really only takes about 30 seconds. So what you're going to do is say, okay, I'm going to set you up the portal so you can see what I see. Let me get your email, and I'm going to email you right now. Sometimes people will give you incorrect emails, so you want to make sure, you're going to get a correct one. You say, so I'm going to email this to you now, and I'm going to help you sign up to the portal. So maybe if they're not tech savvy, that's great. So you tap on Add Contact. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put in, okay, so we did R2D2 in the last hour. We'll do C3PO, Melanator.com, C3PO, protocol droid. I can put his phone number. Otherwise, I don't even need his phone number right now. I'm going to put in his information, tap done. That took me 20 seconds. And then all I need to do is, once this loads, send invitation. So I send the invite, brings me the screen, and I click send. So literally, this process takes me about 30 seconds to get him into my portal. This invitation will take about 60 to 90 seconds. And then what you can do is you can work on your portal speech here. You can say, okay, we'll explain what that portal is. That portal is the website where they can log into. They can tell you what they like, what they don't like. Like as I mentioned before a couple times, why to use the portal? Number one reason, live, up-to-date information. If they're going on sites like Zillow, there's no guarantee that information's live. It could be a week old. And especially as we've seen in the last 2 days, some of these subdivisions, properties are going, they're pending within like 1 to 2 days. So if they're looking on Zillow and they're texting you or they're emailing you these address or these listing MLS numbers and say, oh, I like this one or I like that one. A lot of times what they think is active is already pending or sold. So if you get them in the Flex MLS portal, you explain the value like, hey, those other sites are not the primary source of data. I have something called Flex MLS, which this is where the listings get entered. It gets updated, the new listings 10 minutes. You're looking to buy up something. Maybe it's an investor who's looking to buy up properties. Well, if they're focusing on Zillow or those other sites, they may never actually find a property to buy in a hot market because they're not up to date. Where they're using Flex MLS, you give them a search and a subscription in addition to a portal. They know immediately and they can jump on something. The other thing is you can track what they're looking at. And we'll see that in a little bit. If they're viewing listings, if they're sharing listings, you actually know. When they're doing other sites, they're saving searches, you have no idea what they actually like because you don't have access to that stuff. So that's how you add a contact. Again, I'll just point that out again. When you log into your Flex MLS Pro for Android, this is the first screen you're going to see right here. So you meet someone and they say, hey, I'm interested in some properties. You go immediately to the contact button right here. You tap on add contact, you put in their email address and then their name. It takes about 20 seconds. Once you've done that, it brings you to a screen that you immediately type on send invite. Look at the message, tap on send. The whole process takes about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And then, while they're waiting for that email to come, if you want to ensure they are getting to that portal, explain what the portal is, spend like a minute, 90 seconds, wow them and say, hey, why don't you pull up your email and hand me your phone? I'll sign you up right now. And so they pull up the email. You see that portal invitation. We talked about it yesterday. You sign them up, do the 1, 2, 3, 4 for their password, and then they accept. They're now in the portal. And so you give it back to them and say, hey, here's the portal. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. And then 3 to 4 days, maybe a week, I'll reach out to you after you've done some searching, after you've looked at some properties. Then I'll have a better idea of what you like. And then we can talk some more. So you met Luke Skywalker yesterday. You log into your app, whoa, he's already really, really active. So what has he been doing? What data has he been generating for me? Well, to find that out, I can tap on Luke's contact record, give it a second. Now you'll notice it goes back to yesterday. So if I gave him an invite today, I'm not going to see anything till tomorrow. But I noticed that he was really active yesterday. And then we have, viewed listings. So he viewed 12 listings. Well, let's take a look at it. So I'm going to tap on the viewed listings. And the first thing that jumps out at me, Witten Place Drive, 7550. He's tapped on that 7 times. That means he probably really likes that property. This is your in. This is your reason to contact him. You're not just contacting him out of the blue. You notice, the Witten Drive 7 times, Christian Court twice. Now, he might end up having something that's 15 times, 10, 20 times, but this Witten Place Drive is your reason to call him up. Say, hey, Luke, looks like you're really interested in that property Witten Drive. Is that right? Yeah. Well, are you going to be in town this weekend? Yeah. Well, why don't we schedule some showings and we'll take a look at this property. This one is really interesting to him. But the other section that's important is, give it a second to load, these shared listings. If he's viewed something a bunch, he's probably really interested. But even more so, if he's sharing listings, people will share listings to husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, mother-in-laws. They're sharing listings. They're probably interested. Okay, so now we have 3 properties. We have that one on Witten Drive, this one on Wedgwood, and the one on Gila Circle. Okay, so 3 properties. I have 3 reasons to contact him and say, hey, this weekend, why don't we look at these 3 properties? So you could always pull these up, save these into a listing collection, or we'll do it after the fact, which we'll do in just a little bit. But now you have a reason to contact him. And you're doing what he wants you to do anyways. You're helping him find properties. He's going to be doing the searching anyways. He's doing them on other sites. He might even be looking at 4 or 5 different sites. I've talked to realtors that say they have clients that look in 4 or 5 different sites to see what's wrong with the data, see if there's a difference. You tell them, Flex MLS is the primary source of data. This is where the listings are entered. So it's going to be accurate as opposed to those other sites. So just make it easier for your clients. You scroll down. Newsfeed, if I tap on Newsfeed, These are going to be anything that I've recommended, or if he has a search and subscription, any new listings, price changes. So we see, okay, we just recommended that listing not too long ago. Match. Okay, so he has a search saved, and these are all the ones that match. So we saved a search. Remember, it was near Pleasant Hill. Looks like it covers a different area. But we did 250 to 275,000. All these are going to show up in his newsfeed. So when you save a search and a subscription for a client, you don't have to manually enter email listings anymore if they have the portal. It will show up for them in their newsfeed or in the search section. If you want to understand how that works, watch the portal section that I taught yesterday. So we're going to go back. And then also we're going to see things like any saved searches, any collections. If I go to save searches, looks like I've saved 3 searches for Luke. So these are over the last couple days. And what most recent unsaved search, if he's doing any searching in the desktop site, it will actually track the search. It doesn't track it currently if he's doing it on mobile. So the next section we're going to go to is the collection section right here, collections. Now, remember, I selected 3 listings earlier on in class. So why are we selecting listings? Well, you can select listings. Usually what you'll do is select some listings if you're doing open houses with your client and you want to keep track of them. So I go to selected 3. So I viewed these 3. I could always share them. But usually what I like to do when I select listings is I'm going to go to the 3 dots and I'm going to add it to a contact collection. So write this down. Personal collection equals me. Personal collection equals me, meaning well, you are the realtor. If I save it to a personal collection, it's just for my personal use. Where if I add it to a contact collection, the contact collection means my client. Contact collection means my client. So why is this important? Well, I want to keep track of the open houses that I go to look at every weekend with Luke Skywalker. I have a feeling that he's a little picky and we might look at 20 properties before he decides. So how do I keep track of all those 20 properties? Really easy. We're just going to add them to a contact collection. I'm going to choose my contact. We'll type in Luke. Actually, no, for this, I'm just going to do Wedge here because I just did Luke in the last hour and he already has a collection called Open Houses. So let's just use Wedge. He has no collections that I see here, so we're going to create a new one. And we'll just say Open Houses for Wedge. So I'm going to keep track of these open houses. And what's great about it, when I add it to his collection for him, he can see these listings in his portal. So he'll actually have a collection section for open houses. So if he wants to see what he's looking at, like we've looked at 20 properties, he wants to review what he looked at. That's simple. So we're going to click on Create. And now he has an open houses for Wedge. So we've saved these 3. Now, how do you add to these 3? I'm going to clear these out. So it's back to 0. So maybe we look at those 3 and he doesn't like any of them. So I'm going to pull up the hot sheet and see if maybe there's something in his price range that's nearby. So we pull up these and we see this one. Okay. This is price range. I'm going to tap on it, or I can go here. We look at this property. Maybe I go into the listing. I contact the listing agent. He says it's okay for us to take a look. We take a look. Wedge doesn't like this one, but I want to make sure I keep track of it to add to his open houses. Well, let's select it right here. And I'm going to go back. So now I should have a new one. Oh, let me try that one more time. The functionality is a little bit different on the Android. So maybe this time we'll just do this and we'll go to add to contact collection. Choose my contacts. I'm going to type in Wedge. We'll pull Wedge up. Check here. Click on save. So that's actually pretty simple. This is going to keep a running tally of his open houses. So now I should have 4 in his open houses. How do I double check that? Simple. I'm going to go back into his contact record. Let's pull up Wedge. And we're going to scroll down. There's the collection section right here. We see, oh, here we go, open houses for Wedge. So he will see in this portal record, but when I'm on my Flex MLS Pro app, I can also pull this up right here, open houses, and I can see these are the 4. I'm keeping that running tally of all the properties we are looking at, so I don't forget. So that is collections. Now I go here, there's an option to pull up messages. If I have any messages back and forth between me and my clients through the portal. Most people will message their clients, with text, but if they're sending messages through the portal, you can actually see this. So Luke sent me a message earlier. Says, hey, Chewy, I really like this one. You could always send a message to him, and this will show up through his portal. Okay, let's take a look this weekend. Sound. So that sends a message to him. He'll see that in his portal. And then the other option under the looks like a hamburger is members. If you want to find another member in the board, I can always type in members and we'll pull up Chambliss. We did that a couple of hours ago. If I want to see Amy Chambliss's information, I can pull her up and I could always, text her from the app. But the most important thing on the app that I find is under here, under my listings. Now, I can't demonstrate how this works because I'm not an active agent. I don't have any listings, so just pay close attention to what I'm explaining. We're going to go to my listings. You would find your listing. You would tap on your listing. So you're probably going to want to write down your notes. Tap on your initials. On the Apple device, it says more. On Android, it has your initials. So tap on your initials. Go to My Listings. Again, initials, My Listings. You would tap, if you see any listings here, these are active listings. If you tap on the listing, once you've tapped on the listing, it's going to pull up that listing. In the upper right corner, there's going to be an Edit Listing button. If you tap on Edit Listing, you're going to be given options, really 3 options that you can do. Number 1, you can change a list price. What's great about this is, let's say you're meeting your clients at their house and you have a discussion, they see the days of market are starting to creep up, they want to drop the price. You don't have to go back to your office. You can change the price from the app. And what's cool about that is if you happen to know, like maybe you're there on a Saturday, there's a lot of activity, you change that price, it'll jump on the hot sheet when you want it to, that specific time. So maybe you want to make sure you change the list price when there's a lot of traffic. One thing you can do is change the price. Number 2, change the status. You can change something from active to pending or pending to close right from your app. You don't have to go back to your desktop, go back to your office. And then the third thing you can do is you can upload photos. So a lot of people can have difficulties. Okay, they take a photo with their phone or the camera, then they have to figure out how do they get it on their computer, and then once they get on the computer, they have to figure, okay, what folder is this in? And then they have to figure, okay, I gotta upload it to Flex MLS on the full site. Where is the folder? That can be very difficult. Whereas with the app, you can just upload it directly from your phone. And so that's a really cool option. This is gonna make a lot more sense when you do this and when you're playing around with the app. Because this is a test account, there's no active listings, I can't show it to you. But just to sum up the 3 things that you do, go to your initials, go to office listings, or sorry, not office listings, my listings. Find a listing, tap on it, and then in the upper right corner, there's going to be an edit option. And then when you edit that, you can change the price. You can, one second, let me just make sure there's no emails or texts about questions. Looks like there isn't. You can change the price, you can change the status, or you can upload photos. So that concludes the Flex MLS Android class. I just want to pull up my site again, www.mlsroadschool.com. There is a contact option if you have any questions for me. This is all I do. And normally I would be doing this on the road. I was supposed to be there last week in person, but unfortunately with the coronavirus, we were able to kind of adapt this to make my classes online, and these are recorded. So if you want to come back to them, Tommy and the board should let you know when that's going to happen. I'm assuming within the next couple of days, they will provide those links to you. But if you have any questions, please go to my site and contact me. Otherwise, I want to thank you and have a wonderful day.